Oh wait, what order are we going in?
Welcome to the DL Gaming Podcast. This episode, we don't know what order we're going to go in, but we are going to try and add Monster Train 2, Avowed, and Drop Duchy to your backlog. But first, and this is going to be a crapshoot, folks, my name is Christian.
I'm Bobby.
Oh.
I'm Amanda.
Quick on the draw.
And I'm Taylor.
Perfect. Hey, that seemed to work out somehow. That's crazy. Yes,
Yeah.
Taylor is here, and of course, you haven't been on in a while. So who are you? What are you doing here? And how did you join us today?
I am the bench warmer, community manager for DLG, run the Discord. And yeah, someone wasn't able to make it today, and I am filling in.
And we love to have you, don't we? Do we give Taylor claps? I love when
Yes.
we clap. Can we
Yes.
do it?
Oh, thank you so much.
Welcome,
Yesterday,
Taylor.
you said my name 3 times, or last episode, you said my name 3 times, so I've appeared.
Nice. Oh no.
We summoned you.
Yeah.
It's a cursed genie. Hello, I'm here. Cool. Okay. On this show, we ping things before we get to add into your backlog. So this is just noting something interesting. And Bobby, huge tech guy, by the way. What do you got?
Here with a little tech talk, AMD. Pause for applause. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
AMD reveals their new GPUs. So this was, they kind of soft announced it back at CES, but they've leaked more details on it. Not really leaked, but announced more details on it and announced a date that they're going to be releasing their new line of graphics cards, and that is March 6th. And they're going to be releasing the RX 9070 for $549 US and the RX 9070 XT for $599. So there's not a lot of benchmarks. I mean, there's the ones that they post, but there's not some like real benchmarks out there, at least not that I've seen yet. But people are speculating it's going to be about on par with the 4070 Super. This is not going to compete with NVIDIA on the high end. But for the performance that you're getting, it's actually a pretty good deal. And to be honest, I'm kind of tired of paying over $1,000 for a graphics card. Like,
No shit.
you know,
yeah.
when did this? It all started during COVID when there was like a shortage of chips, or maybe even slightly before COVID. And then I guess, like, you know, once you start selling something for that price and people realize, oh, they're going to pay that much, then they just kind of stick with it. So I don't know. I think I paid over $1,000 for my 4080 when I bought it about a year or two. So,
Jeez.
yeah, but that's probably going to last me a real long time here. I don't plan on buying a new one soon, but if I were, I think I would be okay with something a little more mid-tier, because you know what? I'm not playing the games that really demand the performance.
Does your Stardew Valley need the fucking $1,000 graphic card?
Not even at 4K.
Yeah.
Ray tracing for DRG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see AMD put something out new and something that's competitive at that mid-tier. We'll see how well it does.
Sweet. Taylor, what do you got?
Exciting.
We have game night coming up this month for the month of March with Days and Amanda here. We've already gone through. Christian did it first, and then we had Emilio this past month, and now it's Days' turn. Let's see.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for in the Discord. I will be making an announcement in about a week or two, and then we'll get to voting on games. So,
Amanda, is yours themed like, you know, mine glorious RTS theme, never to be beat? Does yours, are you going to try and come for my title?
Well, I secretly really wanted, at least in the beginning when we first talked about game nights, I really wanted Dune Awakening to be out in time.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Yep.
it's not. So I'm just going to think that it's just going to be fun. I want a whole bunch of fun party games. Before Taylor was doing a lot of the game nights, I remember way back in the day, I would do some of the game nights as well. And so, like, I really love doing just all the fun community ones with Jackbox, and we'll do Gartic Phone for sure. I want to play, but you know what? Since we don't get Dune Awakening, I want to play. What is it? The Last Train to Wormtown or whatever. I want to play that one.
Yeah.
So,
I could make that
but-
happen.
Yeah, so there's some of those that I want to play, but I mostly just want to have a really good time with the community. And you guys should show up and show out because it's 4 days before my birthday that we're having the game night. So I'm making it themed. It's my birthday.
It's not just birthday themed. I fucking love that. And we have to be careful. Yes. We have to be careful if we mention The Last Train Out of Wormtown because Bobby's ears perk up and he might start talking about all 7 Tremors like just randomly. Like he's a, like a secret, not a secret agent, but like, I don't know. What are they called? They have like, they're activated with a certain noise.
Sleeper citizen?
A sleeper citizen.
Or sleeper cell?
Manchurian
I don't know.
candidate.
Yes, whatever that is, he'll just activate and it might be scary.
Well, Bobby, come on out and become a tremor, all right? You could be the worm.
They're actually called graboids, but I don't want to get into it.
That's perfect.
Nice.
Well, speaking of voting and things coming up that are related to our community and Discord, the thing I'm pinging is we have DLG coming up. We're still doing the planning and everything. We know that it's going to be in October. And right now, I originally was going to close off the location, but I'm opening it up for another week because why the hell not? It's March. It's my birthday month. I do what I want. And so there's still another week, if you're listening, to post your suggestion for where you want to go in October for DLGcon. And you can do that by going to our Discord. We have a DLGcon planning channel. And inside of that channel is a thread that we've started for suggestions of the location for it. It's just suggestions. And then we're giving a good old upvote Bobby emote to emoji to whatever one that you like. Right now, it looks like we're going to DLGcon in Wisconsin for October. So get excited, get some cheese and beer if that's the case, or if you don't like it, then come vote because that's how I'm going to go off of where we're going for DLGcon. So right now, Wisconsin's winning with, I think it's Nashville trailing behind them. So that's kind of where we are in the standing with it. But this is the last week, the last leg of the race. So get your votes in. And it's exciting because once we move from here, it's going to be all the fun stuff of the house and planning and getting hype. And then we're going to be there. So it'll be awesome. But yeah, that's what I got.
We have like 100 or so Kiwi listeners. And I feel like maybe this is their call to action to band together and like Auckland. That we have to fucking do a transatlantic or a trans-Pacific trip to fucking make DLGcon. It could happen. It's by the votes, okay? So if you're a Kiwi listening and you want to start some sort of Kiwi revolution, then come to the Discord. I'm going to ping that Anno 117 was in the IGN FanFest. They had a fun little reveal. So the setting of the game is on Albion. Am I saying that right? Albion, which is the British Isles, the old name for before when it was actually they had a way cooler name than the British Isles. I just think the British Isles are kind of lame. They also said wind direction are going to affect your transport ships. Of course, Anno is a game about your logistics between islands, so that will affect it somehow. And those ships will have modular construction. So oars, sails, catapults, archer towers. You'll be able to kind of mix and match your transports for the situation at hand. So that's pretty cool. Still an unknown release date. They did the thing where they're like, Anno 117 is coming sometime in 2025. I was like, oh man.
This year is so stacked though, dude. That's so exciting. Like, hopefully it comes out before game night and then I can just switch it to that because I love the Anno series so
pretty
much.
Pretty quick turnaround, but
yeah. Be awesome. That's cool.
Okay, so that is everything we're pinging, and we're moving on to highlights. So these are the games we have been playing, the games we want to add to your backlog. Bobby, you're going to be starting us off with a crowd favorite. I'm so excited to hear about what you've been up to with this game.
Yeah, so it was Steam Next Fest, and Steam was recommending games to me, and of course it recommended all card battlers. At the top of that list was Monster Train 2, which I talked about last week on the radar. This week I played it. Played the demo, I should say. If you don't know what that is, you definitely should. It's a roguelike card battler, just like Slay the Spire, or similar, but it has a little more complexity. It has different levels, you have characters that you can deploy, and all sorts of other things. So Monster Train 2 really bumps this up to the next level. I mean, the first Monster Train was already pretty complex, but this one makes it even more complex, which I'm not usually a fan of, but I do really enjoy this. The upgrades are a little more streamlined, which I enjoy. The characters now, some of them have active abilities with cooldowns, which is kind of cool, and there's an undo button. So here's a little thing that you may not know. In Slay the Spire and in Monster Train, if you mess up, you can just quit out of the game and then load back into it, and it'll start you over at the back or the beginning of that battle. I don't know if that is intended, but you can make a mistake that ruins your entire run, and it's very frustrating. And I think a lot of people felt that way. So that's probably why they put in this undo button. Now, I think the undo button actually only takes you back to the beginning of your turn, but I believe you can still reset by exiting the game. Some people may think that it's kind of like cheating or, not hardcore enough, but I like it. So that's a welcome addition. But overall, the sequel feels much like the first game. Unfortunately, the demo only had 2 playable factions, and a big part of this game is mix and matching the factions. It's like combining 2 different types of decks. Think of like Magic or Lorcana, where you combine the different colors. It's a lot like that. So the fact that they don't let you really do that in the demo, I mean, I get it. It's still a good demo, but it's missing one of the key parts of the game, I think. But yeah, like I said, it's kind of just more of the same. But that's not a bad thing. And I don't know how you guys feel about that. But if like a game comes out and it's just like a sequel comes out and it's just more the same, is that like, do you have a problem with that? Or does it depend on the game?
Depends on the price. I think like if it's more of the same, but it went from like a $30 beloved indie game and then it releases at like $50, then I'm like, okay, I don't know if I want to buy it. That's just the truth, that there's so many new experiences to play. And if I've already had this, then yeah, I don't know. How about you, Amanda? Oh, sorry, Taylor.
Oh, I was going to say just sometimes you see a game and it's a sequel and you're like, this maybe could have just been a DLC or an expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, I'd agree. I think it kind of depends on the extent of how different it is. Like the sequels that really stand out to me is like Fable 2 felt a lot like Fable 1, but improved. And so like I felt like that was fine. And then I preferred Guild Wars 2 over Guild Wars 1. Maybe not Guild Wars 2 now with all their buy to play. But when Guild Wars 2 came out...
That's the technical term, by the way.
Yeah, that's the correct term. And all of their, I didn't just buy this, buy that, like, gross, the in-game transactions. But when Guild Wars 2 came out, like, it felt like similar in Guild Wars, but a totally different and new game while still being a sequel. That one was really cool. And so I think that I think that's a really good point though, that the price certainly changes it. If it's basically the same game, could have been a DLC, but there's a lot of quality of life upgrades and adjustments, then I feel like that's fine given like a $10 price range. Maybe you could argue up to $20 depending on how great it feels to now play that sequel, but anything more than $20 and it's the same game, like that's insane to me. It's just nah.
Yeah. But Bobby, you feel differently. Like if this was just an upgraded version of Monster Train, you would be fine with it, basically. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess I'd be okay with it. I feel like I owe it to them because I've already put so many hours into Monster Train. Like at this point, it's like I probably owe them a little extra money. They don't have a price yet on Monster Train 2, but
okay.
$70. We'll see how you feel about it then.
Yeah, exactly. But I can't imagine it's going to be that much. I mean, the first Monster Train is on. Whoa, is this right? It is on sale right now for $2.49.
Wow, great move.
Wow,
yeah. Nice.
So
okay.
Very cool.
The cool thing with Steam's changes to demos is that you can choose as the developer to have a separate page for your demo, which means you get user reviews for your demo. I realized they didn't do this for Monster Train. I was kind of excited to see like what people are thinking about it. But Bobby, you had a fun time, so everyone's having a fun time probably. Or were you underwhelmed? I don't know. I can't tell. I can't tell the emotions.
I think it's going to be... I think it's going to be positive. Like if you are a fan of the first Monster Train, you're going to like this. I think some of the changes they made were like annoying things in the first one that they addressed. And then I think it adds enough. And the first Monster Train, it was very highly reviewed. I think it was like overwhelmingly positive on Steam.
Yeah.
So I think this one's going to be well received as well.
Sweet. Oh, now we get down to the Avowed block. The fucking
Strap
Taylor,
in.
Yeah. Okay. I'm ready. Let's go.
I'll start. Oh man. So full disclosure, like I think I've only played maybe an hour of Pillars of Eternity 2. Like that's my context going into this game. So I don't know shit going into this game basically. I saw this game and was like, yeah, it could be cool. I'm going to check it out, and within like I think the first like 3 hours, I was like, oh no, I'm just gonna play this game all the time. And sure enough, sure did. I think I've got well over 20 hours in the game already. As far as I know, talking to anybody and everybody that I can about this game, I think I am the furthest along out of everyone. I'm in the third map. And it's called Shatterscarp, the land, the third one. And so I already got to it. And I'm not beelining it. Like, I am straight up going to every single side quest. I'm exploring all the things. So Obsidian is so good. They've always been so good. Like, I've absolutely loved Fallout New Vegas and a lot of the other games that they've made. And like, this kind of feels like that in some of the ways. And in the way that I mean that it's high fantasy, it's really well developed. There's deep lore, deep history. There's all these details that are into your social interactions and the choices that you make. There's a really heavy, thick layer of how much your choices make a difference and how much they matter, and a whole philosophical thing on it. There's like, for example, I was like running around stealing all the alcohol that I could, because you can take alcohol, combine it with almost anything, but I have so many iron chunks that like that's what I'm using to make grenades, because man, I love lobbing grenades at enemies. It's so satisfying because it stuns them and it makes them explode and it does damage to them and it knocks them down. So to me, I think the grenade is like one of the most effective ways to be fighting people in this game. And so there's a deep level of crafting in this game, right? And so I'm going around stealing these grenades, but to circle back into the context of that, there's all these little subtle differences and these subtle little philosophical things in there. I'm at some ranger station and I'm like, oh man, there's so much alcohol laying around. This is great. I picked up like 13 bottles of alcohol and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be able to make so many grenades. And then I find a letter just like hidden in one of the containers, and it was a letter to like the dock master, who was thanking them so much for providing all this alcohol because they've been so freezing cold that like it's gonna allow them to actually stay kind of warm and bring up their spirits since their morale has been so low. And then I'm like, oh, well, I feel like an asshole because I was obviously allowed to steal all this alcohol, but like
grenades. Grenades.
I need this for grenades more than you need warmth. Like, so there's all these really cool layers in this game that I'm just absolutely loving. And there's quests that aren't even true side quests. They won't pop up on your map. And I haven't seen that in like a first person fantasy RPG in a while. I mean, there's been already so many moments where I've gone to talk to this person and they're complaining about these issues that they have with this other person on the other side of town, and you can go and talk to them, or they weren't pinged as like a side quest or anything official. You just were able to talk to them, and then they just were talking about their life in this thing where they're like, oh, I wish I could deliver this letter to this person. Oh, would you mind? And it like feels like a quest, but it's not necessarily designed. Like, you would totally miss it even if you're looking for all the side quests. You would miss that. You're only going to get it if you're looking at everything. And then on top of it too, in this game, there's all these really beautifully made hidden corners and hidden little, not necessarily puzzles because they're not very difficult, but they are like, oh, if you shock this button, it stirs up a machine to open up a door that has a chest in it. So like all these little kind of interactions like that really make the whole landscape that you're in super just like engaging, which is so nice and awesome. I just feel like
Emilio said last week that this game was so video gamey. He said, I want to go behind every waterfall because there's going to be something there. And I felt like, yeah, that kind of goes into what you're saying. Like, yeah, it's exploration first. It rewards you for doing everything.
And it really does. And like, man, the combat, I just feel like there's so many details in this game that could be initially almost overlooked. Like when I first played the first few hours before I got to the main city called Paradise, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know about this. It feels a little sparse and feels a little empty. Like I could be wanting more, but like honestly, that really is just the beginning tutorial thing. Like it starts really opening up, or at least going deeper if you're looking, which I think is super cool and really great for something like an RPG, and especially a first person one that really puts so much on exploration. This game is absolutely about exploration and about diving into the story. There's so much customization that you can do as well in how you play, how your guns are, how you want to fight, and the combat is just so rewarding. Like I feel like timing is super well. I can run and slide like I'm in Call of Duty and just blast somebody with a wand, pull out a gun and shoot them in the face, and then launch a grenade as I jump back. Like it's so much fun. It's awesome. And like also too with the little details, they have all of these they're almost kind of like they're plants that grow typically on the walls. There's like one or two, I think, that actually grow on the ground, but a lot of them grow on the walls, and they'll form these seed pods. And the seed pods are explosive and will do different type of environmental damage. And they've designed some of these areas so well to where there will be one of those plants growing an electrifying seed pod growing on the ceiling that you could shoot down, and it will drop into where all the enemies are congregating in a puddle of water and just spread rapidly and electrocute everyone in the area. Like these kind of details with combat, I just think are fucking top tier. Like they're it's awesome. And so
as you're doing this,
absolutely
sliding and shooting and environmental effects, do you have like an evil cackle or like a villain sing like
I'm usually just giggling like a child and having such a fun time. There's just so much laughter in this game, I think, too, because I was talking a bit earlier with Taylor about some of the side conversations that happen in the towns, which I think are so hilarious. When you go out of the towns, the exploration in this is just so much fun. The combat's so much fun. I want to engage in every single thing I do. And then inside the towns, there's like a ton of story and like maybe some drama that you don't really care too much about, but there's all these really funny side interactions that happen. And I know that a lot of people kind of dogged on this game about how the NPCs don't move around or don't really have like their own life of their own. Like they're not really nav meshing into their own independent way. Like I know that that's something that I think Bethesda was super into, was like making it seem like every NPC had their own story, their own life, where like they had their own routine and they went to the market. Like that's not here in this one. But in Avowed, which for starters, Avowed is not a Bethesda game. It's different. But I think Taylor could get in a little bit more on that. But so to me, what I think is really awesome about the NPCs specifically in the towns, though, is how funny they are. Like there's some great humor. I was walking around in the third map, the main city is called Thirdborn. And first off, the lore about it was really fascinating. And I don't want to spoil too much because that's the thing, is that so many of these things are just so beautifully grown into a discovery where you're like, wow, or like you're genuinely either surprised or like really impressed, or like it's really cool how they review stuff. But like I said, going back to some of these funny side convos in Thirdborn, there was this guy making like vases and urns and stuff, and I just hear somebody being like, man, why are you so focused on the glaze? Like, what's the whole point? And then I hear that guy go, they're urns. They're supposed to look dignified on a shelf. They're supposed to be beautiful. And then the guy goes, well, who cares? It's a waste of materials if you ask me. And that guy making the urn is like, I'm not taking advice from somebody who makes bowls to shit in. And it's just some two fucking NPCs talking to each other. Hilarious. I was just walking away being like, burn, as I'm trying to jump up a cliff to see a chest. Like, it's so random. It's so funny. I absolutely love it. And then like,
it would
there's
be the
this
chamber
one
pot maker too, wouldn't it? Like, of course, this fucking guy's going around being like, "Oh, glaze!" Like, god damn, dude.
He just poo-poos on everything.
He just poo-poos on everything. Exactly.
Literally. It's so funny. Or like, there's such good context, you know, like without spoiling too much, there's this like huge tragic event that happens when you first go up to one of the cities. it's fine, and then like a tragedy hits, and then you go inside the city, talk to people, and then when you go out of the city, the guards like totally change their demeanor talking to each other. So when I first got there, they were just all like cheery, kind of chatty, like talking about the sun and how like the food's good. Go in, tragedy happens, come out, and I heard one guard go, "So what do you think about poetry?" And the other guard goes, "Why the fuck would you ask me that? Who gives a fuck about poetry right now?" And I was like, damn. So like they kind of adjust. And so even though they don't have this like independent, so to say, life as like an NPC, they have these really good moments where it does actually feel like they're still doing their own thing, even if they're not walking and going to the market or like, you know what I mean? And so I just thought that it feels so good and so immersive, and the lore runs so deep, and the storyline is just so cool. I mean, you're like this God chosen person with this fungal stuff on your face. And so everybody knows that you're different because you're godlike. And so it changes all the interactions, and based on like kind of the way that you navigate through the world changes everything as well. And so I don't know, I just think it's so awesome. But to me, like I said, I kind of went into this entire franchise and this entire game really like as a, you know, newbie to the world itself and the world of Eora. And so I just am having such a blast not knowing really any of the deep story or previous like Pillars of Eternity games, because they're all really connected and linked. So I'm like super excited to have Taylor here on the show and like talk a lot more about this specifically, because like, Taylor, how has this game been meeting your expectations, since you're one of the biggest Pillars of Eternity fans I think I've ever met and know? So like, how does this compare to, you know, the previous games that you play and absolutely love?
This is a good question. I think my Pillars of Eternity bona fides are pretty good. I'm in the top 25 most played in North America on Steam for Pillars 2 and top 50 for Pillars 1. I have a lot of time in these games. And it's really interesting hearing your perspective coming in as someone who just hasn't lived in this world of Eora before. Like me, as someone who's played the first two Pillars games just a lot. Initially, when Avowed was announced, I was a little bit disappointed because it's a different genre. Like, Pillars of Eternity are those isometric, real-time with pause, role-playing games, traditional like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Fallout 1 and 2. And Avowed is not. I mean, it's a third-person or a first-person action-based role-playing game. So at first I was like, I'm not so sure about this. It feels like, you know, it's a genre shift. I don't know. But I decided to keep an open mind and just kind of follow along as the news was rolling in. Yeah. And Obsidian was pretty straightforward about, nope, this is the type of game we're making. It's set in this world. It's not like a direct sequel. So once it came out, I got into the game. And I'm not as far in as Amanda. It's exciting to hear her little bits of like, oh, I'm in Thirdborn, or I don't want to spoil this, but and every night we're texting and she's telling me something. Yeah. So I got into the game more recently than she has, and it was a lot of fun going through the character creator. A lot of different options there. Of course, the first thing I did, just like any game I play, was dial in this graphic settings. And there's one thing I'd like to point out with this game. At least if you're on a similar rig to mine with the 3060 Ti, go through GeForce app and force DLAA in the game, and the graphics will look just much better. It's not in the game options. You have to go through GeForce app. But after I got that dialed in, it's just beautiful. So like Amanda was saying, the lore of this game is kind of unique in terms of like it's a fresh fantasy setting, flintlock pistols, that kind of stuff. And the head writer for Eora and the Pillars games, Josh Sawyer, he is like a huge history buff. And so you can see these like real world influences that and themes throughout the history and the lore of the world. Like the place that Avowed takes place in, the Living Lands, is almost like a mixture of Australia and Africa, where there's new settlers coming. It's a frontier place where nature and magic is just run free and stuff people's never seen before. And a lot of the themes of the series kind of go over colonialism and are the gods real? Yes, in fact, they are real. Spoiler. And what does that mean for us? Really interesting. And like Amanda said, you play as a godlike. So your soul has been touched by one of the gods, and it causes these effects on your face and your body, and you get weird magical abilities. And so, yeah, I don't know. The lore itself is a lot of fun to be as a fan of the series.
I'm so glad you're going over the lore, because I just assumed, because of the isometric view, and this is like a horrible thought, that it would be like really simple and there's no depth to it. Basically, when I see Pillars of Eternity get played, that is my takeaway as someone who's never played any of the games. So this is awesome to hear from both of you that there's something super substantial going on here. Yeah.
I'd say it's probably the highlight of the series for me, is the world building and the lore.
Right.
There's just, one of Obsidian's best strengths has always been writing, and I think it really shines here in Avowed as well. So there's something for Pillars of Eternity fans who maybe weren't necessarily looking forward to this first-person RPG. The writing here is going to make you feel right at home. And then for people new to the world of Eora, the how fluid the action combat really is, and all of the options you have between dual wielding pistols, or having a wand and a grimoire, or a sword and a wand, whatever you want. Throwing grenades. It's good for newcomers and for veterans of the series like myself.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very, I've come from playing so much of Bethesda games and the Elder Scrolls, and this game is so refreshing to me because it kind of captures how I felt when Skyrim came out. It's certainly not Skyrim, and like Taylor and I have talked a lot about how like a lot of people have reviewed it in like a very unfair light to Skyrim, and like the modded, like modern day kind of Skyrim, not 2011 Skyrim. But this isn't that game. However, I do feel like the kind of awe and just being super sucked in the same way that I was when I played Skyrim is here, because of this incredible world building and lore and how deep a lot of things go. The storylines are really good. They're really believable. They're legit. I mean, there are big things that happen in this game, like in story-wise, where I'm just like, what the fuck? It's incredible that they were able to create this, but then also too from a cinematic point of view, like build up to it as well. And so it's really neat. Like the storylines and everything is just so top tier that I feel like it's almost making me feel like the Pillars of Eternity entire world has been slept on and underrated this entire time.
That's what I feel like. I've been sleeping on something great. I was just about to ask Taylor, are there any like books or comics, or does it just exist in these games?
So there is a tabletop role-playing set game rule book, like D&D, that has been created for Avowed, or not Avowed, but for the Eora world. There's also a board game, but there's not a whole ton of content set in this universe aside from the video games yet.
Right.
That is, still subject to change. Like just today, I saw in the Pillars of Eternity subreddit, Josh Sawyer responded to a fan's question about like, why is there no official world map of Eora out there? And he said, we didn't want to make a world map right away, so we didn't limit future people working on this project, like any other developers or writers. We wanted to keep it open for new things. Like, it definitely seems like they have planned it out and invested in this world, and they want to see it continue to grow. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we start getting more media other than video games set here.
Nice. The Netflix the Netflix series that's going to be a toss-up if they do it justice or not. Is it going to be The Witcher season 1 or The Witcher season 3 or 4? Or I don't know. Whenever,
Right.
Yeah, whenever it started to be
I
like,
don't know.
The Halo series or The Last of Us?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, this storyline actually reminds me a lot of The Last of Us, because there's this thing going on called the Dream Scourge, which is like a plague where people slowly start like losing their mind. I actually just found like this really fascinating like experiment lab thing in a mind, and like, they talked about it, and so it's kind of like people start with dreaming all the time of plants and prairies and flowers and vines, and then they start like hearing kind of the plants and being like really in tune with the plants, and then their skin turns green after turning blue, and then finally when they've really lost their mind and they're just one with the plants, they have like fungus erupt from their skin, and they have all this fungus like growing out of them, and they're essentially kind of move and behave a little bit like zombies with all this fungal stuff. Does it sound familiar, like The Last of Us? Because it's kind of The Last of Us in the living lands, and so it's cool, like but it's done so well, and there's all this like deeper level of the story of this, where there's people that don't believe it. They think it's a conspiracy. They think it's a way that a government's trying to utilize it to make people, follow them, so that way then they can gain control as a government. Like, people believe that. Whether that's actually happening or not, that's part of what you're figuring out in the game. But you run into all these people that have all these opinions about this, of what's going on, and different ways of how they're handling it. There's people that are the animancers that are like kind of a little bit like into
they do like soul manipulation and kind of soul magic in a sense. Like one of the really cool things about animancy is like they can create undead and control them in a way, but they're not necromancers. It's one of those things that's kind of unique to the setting, where like souls are just kind of also a known quantity in this world and are being like actively studied and researched. And the pillars of eternity are like the Audra stones that are like that come up out of the earth here. They're like these big giant green pillars of stone, and like some factions are mining this stuff and like burning it as an energy source, even though they know it's like made of souls, and other and to other factions that's horrifying. So yeah, it's really quite interesting.
I think next time Nick goes on a Warhammer lore dump, one of you two should just play your Pillars of what is the world called? Aorta?
Eora.
Like New Zealand?
Eora.
Eora. Eora. Eora. It's a little close to the New Zealand. Anyways, and you should have a battle. You should lore battle. But was that all for Avowed, Taylor? Anything else you wanted to say about it?
I just would like to say, I mean, just like Amanda, this has been the game that I've been really digging into. I think everyone should give it a shot. It's on Game Pass, so if you have Game Pass, there's no reason not to try it at least. But I think that's enough about for now. Christian, I know that you've been really digging into Steam Next Fest, and so I'm kind of curious, like, what kind of demos you've come across that are just really neat, because I've been doing Avowed, not Next Fest.
Totally. So I'm going to talk about a demo that I played on Next Fest, and then my on the radar is another demo that I just barely played for Next Fest. But what I'm not going to talk about, but what I am going to talk about, because this question is 100 hidden boobs in LA. I gotta say,
curious.
Yeah,
Did you find them all?
I didn't. I only found 63. And then I have a friend who's playing a lot of Monster Hunter, the new Monster Hunter game. And I'm like, dude, take a break and play 100 hidden boobs in LA. And not expecting he would play it. And he messaged me back like 20 minutes later, and he said, I can't find all 100. And the screenshot is like 93 out of 100. I was like, bro, how the fuck did you find 30 more than me in half less time? I'm like zooming. So 100 Hidden Boobs in LA is like a Where's Waldo game. It's black and white drawed on a huge image. And you zoom in, and you keep finding boobs the more you zoom in. When you zoom out, you find the beach boobs, you find the obvious boobs. But as you zoom in, you'll find people in houses that have boobs, or people behind shower curtains on the beach, or people that are cuddling and like a little side boob is showing. And then if you zoom in, you'll have like someone's picture frame on their bedside table has someone with topless bare tits. And you'll click that. You'll be like, hell yeah, I found that. I found those boobs. Super satisfying to play. I've never found like a findy game on Steam before. And it was like the first demo recommended to me on the first day of Steam Fest because I don't know, maybe algorithm, or maybe not. Maybe I don't play those games. Anyways, so yes, 100 Hidden Boobs in LA. You should play it. Bobby, any interest in 100 Hidden Boobs in LA?
I do like those games. I'm trying to think of the one that I played not too long ago, maybe a couple years ago, and I can't remember it. But yeah, it's like a Where's Waldo game.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea that you can zoom into that level of detail to find things. That's cool. That's a cool aspect.
To find tits, Bobby, to find boobs, not just things.
Titties.
Mommy milkers, to find the fountains of life that we all relied on. Amazing. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about a game called Drop Duchy on my highlights. And so I started Next Fest with 21 demos, and I whittled them away. They weren't all 100 Hidden Boobs in LA. Some of them were just not games for me. Drop Duchy is Slay the Spire meets Tetris meets a city builder. So it's basically a game designed. They held up a picture of me. Maybe they even listened to this podcast. I don't know. And they were like, how can we make a game exactly for Christian? And they did it successfully. It's like a perfect Steam Deck game as well. But I was having this huge issue with Next Fest on finding games for the Steam Deck. There seemed to be no way to filter properly. Like I had all the tags, demo, Steam Deck compatible, but it wasn't ordering right. Like I couldn't search through the festival. I had to go elsewhere on Steam to find it. And then if I went through the festival, every single game that I found at least had unknown compatibility with the Steam Deck. And I think that's just developers are putting this demo out. They've probably crunched to get a really fun playable version out, and they don't really have a lot of time to make it Steam Deck compatible, considering people who are playing demos on Steam Deck are probably like basically nobody. Like it's me and 20 other people. But that was still disappointing because that's the main way that I'm finding myself playing games now. This game also made me realize that I'm really bad at Tetris. I'm like, Tetris, how hard could it be? The blocks, they go down, you fit them in. I mean, it's simple. The music plays, do, 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 do. It goes faster. So bad because as these blocks are coming down, I'm like, okay, the trees have to go beside the other trees and they should be adjacent to pastures. Because in my third block, I have to place a farm, and my farm is going to turn those pastures into fields. And then I'm going to build another building that needs to be adjacent to fields and wood, and that's going to slide in there. And by the time I've thought about all that, the block has slid down 4 spaces, and I'm like, oh shit, I can't even go in the place I wanted to go. Because it does slowly go down over time, but it's really slow. It really lets you think. But there are a lot of things to think about. It's such a clever take on city building or a strategy game or adjacency bonus board game types that I really think when this game does release, it's going to do really well. The Slay the Spire part about this is you are unlocking different cards, which appear as Tetris tiles when you are in the actual mode. And you choose the direction that you are heading in, much like Slay the Spire. So I want bonus resources, I want to do a battle, etc. Until you get to the end boss. And if you beat that boss, you move on to the next stage. And then you're also upgrading cards because as you're playing Tetris, you know, in a row of Tetris, when you complete it and it like shimmers and disappears and it feels so satisfying. On this game, they don't disappear. You just get the resources in that row. And so pastures and lumber, they're not going to give you much because those are just the base tiles. But if you've turned that lumber into something else or those fields into pastures, you're going to yield more resources, which will help you on the next stage of your run and upgrade your cards. So it's all pretty intricate. or intricated. Just made that word up. Intricate. It is super fun. It's a great idea. I would love to meet the people who decided to mix Slay the Spire, Tetris, and a city builder together, because they must be high on crack or something to make them so creatively minded. And I guess I wanted to end on Taylor, since you are our lovely guest this episode. What is the best easy twist on a game you can think of when you're like, oh, it's that, and that's so clever and awesome?
Well, I mean, right now, just on top of the brain, it's like, what if Pillars of Eternity was like Fallout and you made it first person? That's just Avowed, though. So I don't.
No. I think that's a great
pretty
answer.
much the only answer I've got right now.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's a great answer. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, moving on to On the Radar. So these are the games that have caught our attention, but we haven't really spent much time digging into. Bobby, you're going to start us off with a very tiny nation state.
That's right. I'm going to be talking about Monaco 2. So let's rewind about 12 years ago. A game came out called Monaco, and this was a really good game. It was a co-op stealth heist game where you would break into a location, steal something, and get out. And you could play with, I think it was up to 4-player co-op, and it was a very beautiful looking game. It had a very simple visual display, top down, and it looked great because it had these neon colors, but it was like these heavily pixelized characters and maps, so much to the point that it was almost a legibility issue, especially in a stealth game where you have to be able to read things. There's like vision cones, detection, things like that going on. You have to activate certain things to trigger stuff. It helps when there's some clarity visually. So I thought Monaco was a fantastic game, but it suffered a little bit because of its graphical style, even though the graphical style was beautiful. Monaco 2 is the same type of game, but they completely changed the graphical style. And it's kind of top down, but it's that isometric view. So the graphics in this game are pretty much what you would expect from most games. It's like, that 3D cartoonish character looking type thing. No more of the pixelized graphics here. It's a long time to wait for a sequel, and I've been waiting for this one because I really did enjoy Monaco. But I was able to play a little bit of the demo, and unfortunately, I couldn't play any co-op, and I think that's where this game really, really shines. I was able to get into a game, but apparently when you join a game that's already in progress, you can just spectate. That's it. Can't see, or you can't do anything until the game restarts. So I'm going to keep trying because I really want to test out the co-op experience with this. I did, however, play a lot of single player, and it was similar in a way to the Hitman games, I think, where there's a heavy emphasis on stealth. Now, if you do get discovered, there's ways to escape. You typically have to break into an area, steal something, and get out. But along the way, you get these coins or currencies that you can use to buy things in the map that help you along the way. Things to like disguise you, or like a smoke screen or whatever. But I lost my place. Even though I played the single player, I got to say it wasn't like super engaging the first couple levels because they kind of throw you a few softballs. It's pretty easy. So I don't know. I think had the game been
steal the ice cream from the kid, or like what was so easy about
steal
these
candy
thieves?
From a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they're pretty lenient on you. You do get to pick from 4 playable characters, and that's something I really liked about the original. They had 4 playable characters, and they each had a specific role. Which in any heist game, you know how it goes now. And there's always like some guy on the computer, and then there's like usually the face. Yeah,
I'm going to do sound effects.
Someone who's like does the sweet talking or something. Everyone's got their role. It's like Ocean's 12.
What are the other roles?
So in this game, you have a lady with a little dog, and she's the charmer. Like she walks in, she sweet talks everyone. You got a German guy who is, I think, more of the hacker type. And then a French guy who I'm not sure what his role is. And then
He is a
not
baker.
The French guys are always demo mans.
Oh, true.
Demo-
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, you've got these 4 different roles. They have different abilities. But yeah, I don't know, man. When Monaco, the first one came out in 2013, like that was a different environment back then. And this game was kind of a big hit. Like it wasn't huge, but it was fairly popular. I don't know. It's been 12 years. Nobody remembers the original except me. And I don't know if anybody really cares about a sequel at this point. So I don't think the name is going to be able to carry it very far. So hopefully the gameplay is really solid. But I don't know. Maybe if somebody wants to play some co-op this week, I will have my laptop. I am after this podcast, I am taking apart my computer desk. I'm almost out of this place.
Damn, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah. And then I'll be on the
any
laptop
last words? Any last words to your place, to your computer desk, to anything? Any last words you want to share?
No, not really, man.
No, not really, man.
He's ready.
Nice.
No, I'm ready to be done with this. This is the worst part of it. The moving is, oh my God, I hate it so much.
Yeah.
But
the Geek Squad just installed that TV. I want to say last year. Their efforts.
They did less than a year ago. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that that mount, that wall mount for the people that move in. Maybe they can use it, but
Dude.
I'm not gonna do the wall mount at the new place.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's Monaco 2. I would have loved to check out more demos. I got a bunch of other card battlers downloaded, but Monaco 2 was the only other game that I was able to check out. But hopefully I get an opportunity to play some co-op on that.
Nice.
You're feeling sequels. This episode is brought to you by Bobby and his love for sequels. On my radar, I've got a game called HASTE Broken Worlds. It says that it's coming out soon. What it is it's basically a fast-paced third-person adventure that they market as racing, because you're going super, super fast to go through these procedural worlds and trying to outrun the end of the universe. You know, just positive
I saw
things.
this game over social media, and it looks so fucking fun, dude. Yes.
It looks super fun. Like visually, it's beautiful, bright lights, tons of action. You're like surfing on this like cool tech looking board. Like the world's crushing. They have all these different worlds that are fun. You're like jumping on vines through these huge thorny roots, I guess. Like you're running and it seems super fun. Like there's apparently 10 shards that you're trying to collect on each level. And so you're trying to complete it without fail so that way you can advance to the next shard, which the shard I think is like the center of each world that you're in. And so there are these amazing biomes and different bosses to discover of outrunning them. And like, I don't know, I'm almost getting like Jet Set Radio Future vibes from this. Like it excites me. I think that if this could be played on the Steam Deck, I'm like sold, because this would be a perfect controller game for sure. And so that to me reads as like, please put it on the Steam Deck. Yeah. It's unknown right now where it stands with the Steam Deck. So we'll see once it comes out, but there is a demo. I do plan on playing that. I, like Bobby, wanted to play a bunch of more demos, but I, like Taylor, have been doing nothing but playing Avowed. So I'm so happy that some of these demos are still going to be up, because this is definitely one of the ones I'd like to check out. The music kind of sold me on it too. Like it's just really cool techno-y music, and I don't know, it brings me back to like if Sonic the Hedgehog was first person as like a racing game where everything was being destroyed and exploded on. Like that's what this reminds me of.
This game
I think it's
so
super
fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
It looks super fun.
This one's going to be fun.
I just was watching the trailer, and she literally goes through giant golden rings. So
yeah,
inspired
with
by
so much haste. So that is HASTE Broken Worlds. Christian, tell me a little bit about this frog management sim.
So this is Mudborne Frog Management Sim. That is the full name of the game. When I played it, before I put it on my show notes, it was just Mudborne. So maybe over the course of Steam Next Fest, they were like, I think we need to do something to this name and make it a little bit more explicit. And they added Frog Management Sim. And that's what it is. You're a frog who breeds frogs. I feel like that's wrong. Like, what if you were a people who bred people? Like, we're just getting in a weird territory. Or like a dog that breeds dogs.
Yeah.
Would it be okay if you were a toad that bred frogs?
that would be a little bit more acceptable, because then I would think, okay, there's something about the toads that makes them a little bit more intelligent, and the frogs are more like pets. But when you're breeding the same intelligence as you, I just think
It's
we get to
weird.
weird. It's weird. It's just weird. This is Stardew Valley meets Apico. Apico is kind of like this beehive simulator that's like hexagonal on very simple art, and you're mixing and matching bees in this beehive to restore flowers and stuff to nature. This isn't just a frog breeding. Breeding? Yeah, a frog. I don't know why I'm stuck on breeding. It's just weird. It's not just a frog breeding simulator. You are breeding the frogs because they are the meter stick that the environment is doing well. So you start with like flies and I think even like the pH level of the water, and you're reinvigorating this environment. And when you know you've done that is when you have all these frogs that can survive in it, and the ecosystem sort of simulates in the background, and things, nature heals, you would say. It's cute pixel graphics, and did I write this? I like to breed things. Ew, that's gross. I uninstalled it in 15 minutes because I know it's a game I'm going to love. So I went through a little bit of the tutorial. I think I bred my first frog, and I placed it down. I caught some flies. I did all the basic stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm going to play this game for a lot longer, and I'm just going to do it when it releases, because I hate this type of game. It would kind of spoil it, because a lot of the cool things about these games that are procedurally unlocking stuff is like the joy of doing that for the first time. The joy of breeding your first frog, if you will never be replaced by breeding your second frog. So I saw kind of the tech tree, I saw where it was going, and something like Drop Duchy is meant to be replayable like Slay the Spire, so I don't mind spending a lot of time on that in a demo. Something like this is something that I want to keep when it releases. So Mudborne frog management sim, check it out if you're into breeding and Stardew Valley. And that is what I played on Next Fest. Or that is what I didn't play as much on Next Fest, I should say. Taylor, were you going to mention this murder mystery?
Yes. On my radar this week is Midnight Murder Club. It's a game I actually learned about through our fantasy league, our fantasy critic league. So thank you, Bertram J, for drafting this game. It is a party game that is set in a Victorian manor in pitch black. Everyone has a flashlight and a gun, and there seems to be a number of different modes where 1v1v1, or I don't know exactly. It's not out yet. There's no demo. But it is going to be one of those games where only the host needs to own it, and everyone else, up to 5 other players, can download the Friends Pass. So to me, this is the perfect type of game night game. I'm really looking forward to it coming out on March 13th, which is going to be in time for our upcoming game night on the 22nd this month. So look forward to this, Amanda, because it will be on the list. And so, yeah, I don't know. Proximity chat and running around solving murders with your friends.
Oh my God. I saw the most fun proximity chat thing, and you guys have probably all seen this, but in the top right of their screen, they have their role, and it's like some complicated name, and they're like asking everyone in proximity chat to just spell their top in the top right. What does it say in the top right? Spell it. And if they can't spell it, or spell it backwards, and if they can't spell it backwards fast enough, then they get shot. I don't know, just a fun little hack if you're playing Dale Dawson or whatever. Spell in the top right backwards what your role is. Okay, cool. Moving down to subs and donos. So last week we revealed a new Patreon rework. It's exciting, because my voice went like this. Yay! There's
Woo! Can we get claps?
Nice. there are new things in the basic tier. So you get an ad-free RSS feed. You get pre-show banter. What do we do before the show? What a great mystery that is yours to uncover on Patreon. You also get an early show. So if you like to listen to this podcast, if you just can't wait, oh, I can't wait till Tuesday. Where is my DLG? Guess what? Everyone else is listening to it on Monday. So consider that. At 3 months, you get an audio thank you card, which we will make everyone do. Everyone will be doing an audio thank you card, thanking you for, supporting us for 3 months. That's incredible. And then recording 10 seconds of any script that you would like us to say. Nothing that'll get us thrown in jail or that's like weirdly sexual. Like, don't make us say breeding. You've already heard me say that this episode. New to the tiers is Support the Show Plus, which at 6 months of support at that tier, you get a little 3D printed monitor, buddy, so we can hang out. We can hang out together. He just kind of hangs out there. I think it is a bunny. There's also a ghost. There's also a dragon. And the end goal is to make a little DLG mascot that we don't exactly have planned about what that will be to hang out on your monitor. But we don't have that now, so it's just these 3D models that we can send you. After that, there's an executive producer role, which all you get is an annoying pink name on Discord, but it's $10 extra. So you get nothing else. It looks good on your resume. You can call yourself an executive producer, and you have a bright pink name. And the other thing that Patreon support gets you is early access to our other content. So I did an interview with Raph Koster, the designer of Ultima Online and Star Wars Galaxies, and now Stars Reach. That interview was awesome, and it's not fully edited yet, but the pre-show tease is on Patreon, and of course, patrons will get to listen to that full episode before everyone else. So it's not just normal episodes, guys. It's everything, okay? Head down to Patreon if you like this show, if you'd like to support us. We love if you do, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thanks. Thank you.
What are we doing for listener questions? Because we got none.
We got
none this week. What's going on, guys?
We went to like 10 to none. Why is there no in between? Hot and
We
cold.
answered them all last week.
We're going to play a fun game called You Can Only Save One Video Game from Each Genre. I say fun game. I have no idea. This is on BuzzFeed. So we'll see how this goes. So the first genre that we have to only save one game from, every other game dies. We have to think so hard about this, is MMORPG. The games that we can select from, every other game other than these four are already dead, so say goodbye to them. RuneScape, Lost Ark, The Elder Scrolls Online, or World of Warcraft. We could only save one.
Gotta go with WoW.
This sucks. No, I'm so conflicted. I love Elder Scrolls Online and RuneScape so much. I can't. You're making me choose between mommy and daddy. What am I supposed to do?
I have no gun in this fight. All these games are not for me, I don't think.
Fuck.
So, Taylor, you'll have to be the deciding vote of the game we save. Probably.
I mean, I've played most of these, but if I were to save one, it'd be RuneScape. That's what I've been into lately. It's just a
It is
good
RuneScape.
second screen game to play. I don't know. That's my
Are we
pick.
saving RuneScape?
Yeah.
Okay. Only 17% of people chose RuneScape. That's crazy. Most people decided to save World of Warcraft with Elder Scrolls Online coming in second. Goodbye, Tamriel. Goodbye, Kalimdor. I think that's a continent. We saved
so sad.
RuneScape.
Goodbye, nerd. love
Galenor.
Okay, we got to save next up a retro game. So we got Super Mario Bros. 1985, Donkey Kong 1981, Pong 1972, in case you were wondering, and Space Invaders 1978. We can only save one.
Super Mario Bros.
It's Super Mario
I
Bros.
think that is, yeah.
Yeah, it is the most iconic. I think I would have
Oof.
gone for Pong. I love the Doot Doot,
I mean,
You
for
ever
the
get-
Mario IP alone, you gotta.
Okay.
I mean, we wouldn't have any Nintendo.
And the world agreed with us. 82% saved Super Mario Bros. Only 5% saved Pong. Not a lover of the Doot Doot out there. Doot,
Nah, they like that. Da-na-na-na-na-na. That's what it is.
Okay. Next up, save a fighting game. I don't know if we even play those. Next up, save a turn-based strategy series. Civilization? Final Fantasy? Wait, what? Fire Emblem or Pokemon? What?
Civ.
Yeah, it's
Right?
Civ.
Civilization.
Civ is, I mean, it's up here.
Yes, it is. Yep. I think we're going with Civ. Bobby, do you, unless you have a stunning argument to make?
I'll go with Civ. Wow. I'm guessing Pokemon was the number one choice there, though.
Yeah. 60% decided to save Pokemon. I don't know. Civilization doesn't stack up. Like,
Is Pokemon a turn-based strategy game? I don't know.
Seems
It's
like an
not
awkward
the
bucket.
same genre
Genres,
as
right?
Civ.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to save a horror game. I don't know if we are. We're going to save a racing series game. Gran Turismo, Mario Kart, F-Zero, or Forza. Dude, Mario Kart's the best. I have the most
Mario
fun with
Kart.
it. Yeah.
Yep.
Got
Mario
your
Kart,
shells.
although F-Zero, I don't know. You can't compete with Mario Kart, but not enough love for F-Zero out there.
2% of people did vote for F-Zero, Bobby.
There we go.
Okay, and the last game we're going to save is an open world game. We have Zelda Breath of the Wild, The Witcher 3, Red Dead Redemption 2, and Elden Ring. Who do we save?
Wow. That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
Like, I don't even know which one won on the polls on that one because people are fanatical about all those titles.
Yeah.
I'd say Witcher 3.
Witcher 3?
Uh,
We got to save him in the bathtub with the legs spread. It's iconic.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'll go with Witcher 3.
I could
Do it
go
for the
with that,
girls.
but Red Dead is up there too.
Yeah, Red Dead's really close.
Okay. 40% saved Zelda, which I think that would be my second choice. I love Breath of the Wild. 33% Red Dead and 14% The Witcher 3. So we're definitely in the minority.
There's just not enough PC gamers on this poll. That's what's happening.
That is what's happening. Okay. I don't know how that bit went, but if you don't want to hear that ever again, all you have to do is go to the Discord and submit a listener question, and we won't have to awkwardly fill the show with something that we don't know if it's going to be funny or not. What's everyone playing next week?
Well, Steam Next Fest is going to be over very soon, right?
Yes, but important to note that a lot of developers will leave their demos on for an extra couple weeks so that like press and content creators can play their game. So,
Okay.
Search by demo on Steam, maybe still a good idea.
All right. If the demos that I downloaded are still up, I'll be checking those out. A lot of card battlers. But otherwise, more Monster Train.
Nice.
I'm literally taking Friday off, this Friday, March 7th, to spend the whole day doing a couple playthrough of Split Fiction, because Split Fiction
Nice.
is coming out on March 6th, and my partner and I are super stoked to play it, and so we are both going to spend all day Friday just playing it. So I'll be talking about that on the next cast, but definitely looking forward to playing Split Fiction.
That is so wholesome. Taylor, what are
It
you
is.
playing?
Yeah.
I'll be playing Avowed, obviously. Got to catch up to Amanda there, but also checking out a couple of these demos before they disappear.
Fair. And Christian, I said I was going to play Blood Typers last week, and I really wanted to. I just had no time with Steam Next Fest going on. I think it might be the week for Blood Typers. I really want to try. It looks so fun. So I'll type Blood Typers again, but no guarantees.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's a show, guys. Thanks, Taylor, again for being on.
Thank you,
Thanks, all
Taylor.
you listeners. Yeah. And speaking for Bobby, Christian, Taylor, and myself, lamenting titties, because the outro is music from League's Lament of Monster Train 2.
Perfect. I kind of like it. I dig it.
Monster
it's a
Train
bop.
has a great soundtrack. And I'm sure the sequel does as well.
I'm super excited for Monster Train 2.